Probably because you're so placid.
You're flaccid. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I am one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, Diane Dalton.
Who's not flaccid?
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us. We dive into some of cinema's best and come back here to discuss it. Andy, what have we been watching this week?
Emphasis on the best. The Blues Brothers.
Go on, give us... I don't know where... Okay, all right, we're going to discuss that. Go in. What is The Blues Brothers about?
It's about two brothers. It's kind of weird because you don't really... It's kind of a film that meanders in its own way. I love the use of the word meander when describing films. Yeah, it's about a guy who comes out of prison. He meets up with his brother and they want to save the orphanage they grew up in. So they want to do it legitimately because they normally nick stuff and steal.
Yeah.
So they decided to do it in the form of the band because he used to be part of the band. So the first half of the film is about getting the band together and the second half is about them running away from everyone to perform an Unreal gig.
It's important that we mention they're on a mission for God.
That's such a good line. Such a good line. So that's how Blues Brothers is about. And it has, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Dan Aykroyd. And John Belushi.
Yep.
So John Belushi from Animal House that we reviewed before.
Which, by the way, if you haven't seen Animal House, go watch Animal House and the episode because that was awesome. That was a lot of fun to do that one.
Yeah, and then the same director as Animal House.
Yeah, John Landis.
That's it, Landis, yeah. What do you think?
So, right. Never seen Blues Brothers before. Heard things about how awesome Blues Brothers was.
Yeah.
Never seen anything outside of like a clip here and there. You know, not like I'm talking real short clips. I've never seen like a scene.
What about the just to make notable clips? The FBI, hot, just going down. He's going another thing. He's going hot by himself.
So weird thing. Didn't realize that Blues Brothers was this much of like an absurd comedy. No idea.
So you got right to the end where the card is like all these flips to think, this is a bit exaggerated.
I got to the end like chasing. I was going, this has gone a bit out of hand. So watching this film, right? Intro, and the best thing is, intro starts with Elwood coming out of...
And you don't see his face up until...
You don't see his face for ages.
That's fantastic.
Actually, it plays very much like, almost like an indie drama in a lot of ways. So for a good like intro to this film, I'm thinking like, all right, this is cool. This is like quite a decent sort of drama setup. And I think Natalie had the same thing, where she had no idea as well that like this was like a comedy, like a full-on comedy. And it's not until...
It's John Belushi.
I know, but like I don't know how this slipped me. It's Dan Aykroyd as well.
Yeah.
And then it's not until they get to the nun's office. And she beats the shit out of them.
I love her exit.
She just destroys them and like kicks John Belushi in his chair.
She just goes at this.
Down to earth, and then she goes back into the room. And
what an exit.
And like, it's suddenly at that point, I'm like, okay, this is the film that we're in for.
Yeah.
And I should have known better, given that like in the credits, the opening credits, John Landis' name comes up. And it's John Landis Animal House, and this is Animal House again, but in a more absurd way.
Yeah.
So what I find interesting, you all right?
Yep.
What I find interesting...
I think I stood my microphone and it went... Clack.
You can apologise to the audience for that.
Sorry.
Is... So you said at the beginning of this, when I said some of cinema's best...
Yeah.
And you said, speaking of best, Blues Brothers.
Emphasis
on Blues Brothers. So, are you in love with this film?
I didn't know what to expect from watching this film because I've heard it was like a musical, a bit of a comedy, a bit of this, a bit of that. And the way that this film just went about, and I think the one thing I love about this film is how silly it gets, especially towards the end. This is why what you just said there is hilarious. And just their sheer nonchalance about the whole thing. Carrie Fisher, multiple times, tries to kill him, they just brush it off and go, oh, it's like when he's going, oh, no, when they're going down the fucking mall, trashing places, going, oh, there's a shop over there, it's just new. And it's just like absolute nonchalance about everything.
While we're on Carrie Fisher, by the way, I think I laughed harder in this film than when she's introduced as a character and she just brings up the missile launcher. And you're like, what? What is this?
Yeah, it must have got to that point where you're thinking, yeah, this is maybe a bit of a funny film. I know I thoroughly loved it. It was just, I think it's because like you said, it's what's his name again? The director,
John Landis.
Landis, sorry. It's Animal House. It's that got that whole crazy humor about it, and then it just kind of like it works though. There is a constructed story.
Yeah.
The way, I think the way that they go and introduce each character. We were saying before about one of the films where they give, it was Seven Samurai, where they give each, that kind of entrance where you introduce each person. This is what they're good at. This is what they're good at. This is what they do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people have this, this great, where they come from, will come back to the band sort of thing. And for that to build up, you not just care about the main two, the Blues Brothers, you care about the band as well, and the janitor as well. Is it Lewis?
Who's the janitor who works at the orphanage?
Yeah.
The guy who performs on stage at the end.
Yes.
When they're trying to buy some time.
I think it's Curtis actually, Kev Calloway.
Curtis.
And it kind of goes, and then you have that amazing gig at the end, and it's just like everything comes together, and it's just fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Honestly, I loved it.
I think I really like it in terms of, so it's a bit difficult to discuss because you got to talk about like absurd comedies, and my hesitation on absurd comedies comes mostly from modern absurd comedies. Absurd comedies now can be, I just hate them.
What's a modern absurd comedy?
Things like Scary Movie, and I know they're more like parody than absurd comedies, but like you've also got like the Airplane films that I think predated this.
I can't do Airplane, but yeah.
I don't like, exactly. I'm in the same camp. I don't like them. But there's something about this which has like an earnest feeling to it. It's like you've got all these absurd elements, but the way in which Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi play so straight, they're not just like the straight man. They are like so straight in the way they do. Like nothing phases them. Nothing makes them emote, practically. They're just like piles straight through. And then play that off with maybe my favourite thing about this film. Like absolutely my favourite thing about this film, all practical.
I know, right? How much of those car scenes reminded you of Bullet?
Yeah. I was actually thinking that when the car chase is going, especially when they're racing through downtown Chicago.
I agree, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God,
this
is nearly level of like
the camera
Bullet.
styles as well, like how the camera came towards and the car would come in and push stuff towards you, the camera.
Yeah.
Or it'd be on the dashboard, it'd be on the back of the car.
And there's like...
That was very, very Bullet kind of style shooting.
There's some crazy impressive stuff.
With a lot of the budget went on the cars.
Which... Yeah, apparently they were hugely over budget, weren't they? Like, hugely over budget.
There's some, I'm going to tell you in a bit, some great reading material.
So, one of my, one of the most unbelievable moments in this film is towards the end.
Yeah.
When there's, I can't remember who's in the car. It's people who've been chasing, might be the Nazis. And they're teetering on the edge of a bridge, a construction.
Oh, but it spins round and goes over.
And, yeah, they flips over. But they fall off. And instead of just falling, they suddenly fall past like skyscrapers and fall
so
like
thousands
of feet. They actually did it. Yeah,
you could see the car like how it's in the air.
They took a helicopter up to 1,500 feet and dropped a car.
Fuck me.
And I was like, it's that stuff which for me makes it feel much more honest, much more real, and much more like a heartfelt absurd comedy.
Well, do you know the whole thing behind the production of it?
Go on.
Do you know anything about Blues Brothers?
The only thing I know about Blues Brothers, there's a horrible accident and somebody lost an arm or a leg.
I didn't know that
something
actually.
like that. In one of the police pileups.
Okay, there was a lot of pileups, wasn't there? So you don't know anything about? Right. Okay, this is really interesting.
I do know stories of John Belushi.
Okay, well.
And his drug problems.
This is going to make you love the film.
Go on then. Hit me.
Blues Brothers. So essentially, I love this so much, and I'd heard stories about how the Blues Brothers had started, and I decided to read more into it. And there's a really good article by I think it's Vanity Fair. Is it Vanity Fair?
Yes, it's Vanity Fair.
Yeah, Vanity Fair actually. Go and check it out, Vanity Fair. And the article is called. I can't even find it because my phone's terrible. Soul Men: The Making of the Blues Brothers. Absolutely fantastic, and it's huge. It's long. And it tells you how it all started. And what I knew before is it all started, it was originally came from a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yeah.
So like imagine the Will Ferrell Beats More Cowbell one.
Yeah.
So it came from something like that. Read into it more, and it actually came from Dan Aykroyd. He actually used to own his, he was brought up with blues, brought up with like kind of jazz blues, and he had a bar in Chicago, I believe it was. And he had all his favourite records on disc, and people come over. Anyway, one time, the Vanity Fair says, Belushi came in, and he kind of like had this love at first sight, it explains in their love at first sight friendship, and they started talking, and Belushi got introduced to blues. And it's saying that Belushi was just open to this new world of blues. Like, oh my God, what is this? So he started to get more and more records and build up this thing, and then they started like hanging out loads, Aykroyd and Belushi, listening to loads of blues, and then they came up and they said, oh, let's do a band, because they started. Belushi was actually, as you can tell, he's a quite decent singer. Anyway, so they started doing this, and then they started pitching their idea and making their fictional characters, which is the two Blues Brothers. So they actually, outside the film, outside Saturday Night Live, came up with these alter egos themselves as the Blues Brothers.
Yep.
And they'd sing blues. They'd go on with these musicians and ask to open for them. Eventually got the opening show to Saturday Night Live, where they dressed up as bananas or something, or monkeys. No, bees, that's it. No. And it was like, what's this? And they started doing it again. And they came back and they did this act, and the Blues Brothers, heavily well received. Everyone loved it.
Right.
They started getting this, actually making a band with them two, the two actors, getting these huge artists come in and help them out. And that's where the artists are getting here. The band that they had are actually the people in the film. So you know the actual cast and crew?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's why at the credits at the end, they're all credited with their real name.
Exactly. So it's all about like picking them up. Oh, we're going to do the band again. So essentially, it's very self-referential. They're going like, they've done these bands for these like skits and stuff like that. And it's just like, we're going to make a film. Oh, let's get you. You know, even though we know that you're going to be in the film anyway, fictionally, come on, you're going to make the band up again for this big film. But in their case, it's for a gig. And it's not just that; it's the fact that all this came about, and they started, getting these things across to the director. Who was like, "Get this on." It was who's the studio for this film?
Universal.
Yeah, it was Universal. They're like, because obviously it went over budget. Their big gaffer was going crazy because of all this. You obviously had Belushi, who was just taking a shitload of drugs, who was causing all the ruckus on set and stuff like that. But they all like kind of accepted. They actually had again, Vanity Fair, great article. They actually had a budget for cocaine.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That's fucking mad. But that's supposedly what the industry was like.
That's rumoured though, isn't it? It's not.
No, Aykroyd confirmed it.
Has he really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's terrible, but it's crazy.
It's fucking crazy. It's like how that comes about. That's the extent of the film, and they came out singing, but it all stemmed from their love for one another and their love for blues. And it's amazing how this movie. It's like, okay, like to put like into a bit of perspective. It's like, me and you said one day, oh, we love talking films and all this, and let's fucking do film club for the crack.
And we decided to start making that
and we made
money for our mountain of cocaine.
Yeah, yeah. But it's like us making a huge film about the making, or like film club fictionalising the universe way down the line. That's what it's like. Do you know what I mean? It's just two friends with two hobbies that excelled into this film that's fantastic. It's got scenes like Drive. It's got these fucking mad cars being dropped. It's got these hilarious moments. It's got Carrie Fisher, rocket launcher, all that.
So coming summer 2025, Film Club the movie.
With Natalie with the rocket launcher.
With Natalie with the rocket launcher.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's for that to come from something
cool,
so
isn't
little.
It? Yeah.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And then you've got the other factor of it. You've got the other aspect of the whole thing. The fucking music.
Music's awesome. And the kind of the gag of this film, I guess, is that what they're actually doing is when they go and try and reunite each of these band members.
They come into a musical number.
They keep kind of coming across all these musical legends.
Yes.
And then they're playing like a role in the film, which kind of like they're playing like a weird fictionalized version of themselves. Everyone has their own name. So when they bump into like
James Brown,
Ray
who's
Charles,
you got James Brown, who's the first they meet.
who's Reverend James, whatever.
Yeah, and he's got this. Then you got you see Ray Charles. He's the guy on the piano in the music shop.
Yeah.
So Landis stuff. You got what's her name? Aretha Franklin, which is Murphy's. I think it's Murphy. His wife, and she bosses that number. That's an absolutely incredible song. And then you've got Cab Calloway's the janitor, who I love, by the way, just to note on that at the end of the film, how they're all dressed up and they're all in white suits. Then it takes it away and it's just them, that's how they see themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic touch.
It's classic sort of musical sort of thing.
John Lee as well. John Lee Hooker, who I believe is... John Lee Hooker was the guy when they were sat down outside the music shop and he had that blues where he's kind of like kind of vocally kind of talk blues sort of thing.
Oh yeah, as they're going into the diner.
Yeah.
That's
fucking
really
awesome, that song. Awesome.
Yeah, and then there's a whole bunch of other people that turn up as well.
Yeah.
There's like Natalie was saying there was a supermodel in there called Twiggy.
Oh, is that the British girl?
She's credited at the end now as like I don't know who she is, but apparently she was a very famous model.
There we go. Yeah, it's a nice convertible.
So it's bizarre how they managed to get everybody in on this. Yeah. It's got this. It had at the time this huge budget of I think 30 million, which they went over.
Yeah.
I think to about 45. Am I right in saying? They went over by about 50% of the budget.
I think it was supposed to have 20. Yeah, so 20. It was supposed to be 20 million. It went to 30.
Oh, was it 20 to 30? Okay. So yeah, they end up with this huge budget of 30 million. This insane,
which at the time was huge.
Insane production level, or insane production level. You can see particularly at the end when you have these huge crowds, these immense amount of cars that are all getting destroyed. They're dropping cars from helicopters. They've got supermodels. They've got musicians, and yet it never comes across as being like gross. It never comes across as them just throwing money at the screen.
It's because everyone's just got this huge love for what it is.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of like what the whole, I don't know what it's like now, but that's what Saturday Night Live was. It was that whole scene of everyone just loves it. I mean, Animal House, all those kind of like Saturday Night Live members, they just did it because they loved what they did. And actually, you get so much into the
funny enough, similar to Animal House, it's got a few problems in that structurally it doesn't quite make sense. You know how Animal House was like these little vignettes, these little like kind of gags that just stitch together.
This is a bit more structured, I think.
A little similar, but like there is more of a structure there. But it still suffers from just like, hey, this is fun, hey, this is fun, hey, this is fun. Let's move on. And I think that hurts it a little bit. But other than that, I mean, the thing is, it's not setting out to be this like epic drama. It's setting out to be this ridiculous, over-the-top film, and it succeeds. It absolutely succeeds.
It does it hugely well.
It's a great like absurd comedy.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a shame really, because what happened? Me and Andy were just talking about like how we were watching the film before, and we both ended up accidentally watching the Blues Brothers 2000, which is the sequel. Yeah. Which starts off from a great song, and you think about they made this sequel, and that was after Belushi died in '82, I think.
2 years after this came out.
Speedball overdose. And it's just like, considering how this, like as mentioned, how this film came about from their friendship, fuck's sake, I think that might be why this is just amazing, because it is Belushi at his best. It's Aykroyd at his best. It's their chemistry,
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
to a whole fucking new level.
Every very honest, like everyone feels comfortable on set with the bizarre roles they're doing. Everyone feels like they have kind of a real irreverence for the material, but.
And he won't be able to replicate that?
No, which is a shame. It is a real...
Maybe that's why it's like always been revered and it's a cult classic and it's just everyone loves this film.
I think so. I think it's tied very heavily to John Belushi and it being... it's not one of his last films, is it?
It's up there.
It's got to be close. 2 years out, so...
Yeah.
But anyway, that is Blues Brothers. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Blues Brothers, or you can hit us up on Twitter. Every single week we return here to talk about film, so we'll be back once again next week with...
You know what it is?
I cannot remember. And he sprung some film on me at the beginning of this session and was like, we're watching this. Okay, so to continue along with the trend of music and film, we're going to do The Commitments. The Commitments. Irish-British film. So, mainly Irish. You can join us next week to watch The Commitments. We'll meet you back here next week. See you all later. Next week? Not next week. See you.